While retirement is generally seen as a time of relaxation and self-focus, God calls us to love, serve, and help others for a lifetime. He has been preparing us for this retirement season literally our entire lives. In retirement, countless Christians enter a state of spiritual dormancy, not knowing how they are called to have an impact for God's kingdom. The Retirement Reformation seeks to encourage and empower the 50 million Christians approaching or in retirement to embrace the calling God has been preparing in them. When the world says it's time to stop, you can begin to have your greatest impact. Welcome to I Retire for Him, the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation, where our goal is to journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him.
Did you know that when you retire, your calling doesn't retire? That's for sure. When you're not dead, you're not done. God is not done with you yet. If you got a pulse, you still have a purpose. I know you are fully aware of what you retired from. You are so glad to be done. But what did you retire to? We're going to give you a phenomenal idea today. You've tuned into I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, an organization dedicated to you, the retiree who loves Jesus and wants purpose for all of your days, especially the ones ahead of you. Bruce Bruinsma joins us today. As the founder of the Retirement Reformation, he is here to encourage you and walk with you through retirement. And I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg. We invite you to check us out online, retirementreformation.org, and on Facebook, look for Retirement Reformation. This is part 3 in a 3-part series talking about wraparound grandparenting. Why are we doing this? Because we have a crisis in the foster care and adoption system. Too many kids, not enough homes. But here's the solution. We got a lot of churches with not enough people participating in the foster care and adoption system. It's simple. Wraparound grandparenting is the solution to bringing a home to each one of those kids in the foster system, whether it's on a temporary or a full-time basis. But foster families need your help and support. And Bruce Bruinsma was here to talk about wraparound grandparenting and talk about how you can implement wraparound grandparenting in your church. Bruce, we've spent the last 2 shows talking about wraparound grandparenting. Can you give us just a brief explanation again in case maybe somebody missed the last 2?
Well, it is the reality in our culture, in our world, is that there are thousands and thousands of young people that need to have a foster home, have a place where they, in fact, can be loved and the word of Jesus can be brought to them. Secondly, is that there is a second issue in that amongst those homes where people have been called to be foster parents, it's really a hard job, and it's difficult, and it's complex, and often it's painful and disruptive. And so what we see statistically is that about 45 to 50% of those who step into those fostering roles withdraw from it after about a year. So we've got a front door of people coming in, not enough. We got a back door of people leaving, too many. And so how do we in fact build as the church come alongside? Remember what Jesus said, we need to pay attention to who? The widows and the orphans. And so how can the church come together to address those issues, that issue of fostering and adoption? One of the ways to do that is to realize that those foster parents actually need support, and the degree to which they are supported. And what does support mean? Support starts with love, followed by care, and then hands-on help. And so if we could shut that back door, we could solve that problem. Right now, the church is being relegated to a perception that they are irrelevant to the value of society. Here's an area where Jesus identified clearly we have the capacity to be able to come alongside, and we have the people to do it. Those are the seniors that can come alongside and be wraparound grandparents to be supportive of foster parents, adoptive parents, and other grandparents who are now charged with the responsibility of caring for their children because for whatever reason, their children have not stepped into that role. So there's the context for it, Jim. And we're excited about the legacy of love, which is what it is that we have called the Wraparound Grandparenting initiative that the Retirement Reformation is bringing to the church and to the 48 million seniors who could step into that role and find meaning and purpose.
Why do you think this conversation is perfect for the I Retire For Him audience? What is it about this subject that has you amped up, excited about, and you think it's just perfect for our audience?
Well, there's a number of reasons, but let me just give you three of them. The first one is its impact on kids. And so, suffer the little children to come to me. And so we know that how important that is. Second is to be supportive of those whose God has reached into their heart and said, you can give love and a new home as foster parents or adoptive parents to that. And that's been the experience that Judy and I have had. Third is looking for a opportunity for those of us that are in the 30 years of retirement to be able to find meaning and purpose and to be able to set loneliness aside and be able to step into something in conjunction with another small group of people that can leave a legacy of love in the lives of the foster parents and the children that are there.
As we've talked about wraparound grandparenting in such detail over the last couple of weeks, let's talk about the steps, the first steps in setting up a wraparound grandparenting initiative. I don't want to call it a program because it's not a program. It's just implementing what Christ has already told us to do. But what do you think some of the first steps are, Bruce, in setting this up around in your local body of Christ?
I think the first step is awareness. And so awareness of asking, starting with a question. Do we have any foster parents in our church? Do we have any adoptive parents in our church? Do we have a connection with any local organizations that deal with those two subjects? So first, is there anything that's going on? Second is to be able to go to retirementreformation.org/wraparound and be able to take a look at the Legacy of Love documentation and the other information that we have there that will explain what it is what's the problem and what are the steps to the solution. Next is
I want to stop you there because so first you're asking, do we have anybody in the foster care system or somebody that's already adopted? But if the answer is no, do we have anybody thinking about that are sitting in the pews right now thinking about going in the foster system, but you are absolutely petrified about trying to do it on your own? I think that's the next question you got to ask, because the answer may be some churches have nobody that's doing foster care or has adopted, but they're thinking about it. There's a young couple thinking about they can't have kids because there's a lot of parents today that can't have kids. So how do they deal with that? Wow. I don't like to sneeze in the middle of a podcast, but there you go. Just how do you just to uncover those people? And then you start asking the next questions.
Oh, and it may be just simply with your senior pastor or one of your key leadership people, just to say, hey, we're going to have a meeting on Sunday after church for all the people that are vaguely interested or engaged, or people that family members that are engaged in the fostering or adoption system. We just like to get together and find out who we are. So once you find out who we are, you'll also find some people that show up that go, I never thought about that. But when you ask the question, yeah, I'd like to know that because of whatever that reason is. Next, then, to get some information that's real. And that's where retirementreformation.org/wraparound can come into service to find out to go and to see, what does it mean to be a foster parent? What does that even look like? What are the pieces that have to go together to do that? What does it mean then to be able to support them? What does that mean? Once you have that, then the Retirement Reformation and connect your church and you with local organizations. And there are all over the country because it's just a huge problem to be able to say, okay, how do we take next steps and find out what the rules, the regulations, and the steps that need to be taken in our state or in our community?
My suggestion, when you're having that meeting, make sure there's food and there's childcare, because you got to have the conversation and you got to make sure you're giving an opportunity for people to hear And you can't expect families that have kids already to be involved in this conversation unless you're going to take care of them. And if you're going to do it after church, it's got to be food involved because that's what makes it fun. Bruce, you're talking about these wraparound grandparents committing a few hours a week. It seems like retired people are busier than ever. This may involve some sacrifice on your part. You may have to give up something that you're doing right now, or it may just mean you watch a little less TV or play a little less cards or whatever it is that you do to occupy your time. But you're not talking about 20 hours a week. You're talking about a few hours a week to give some relief to the fostering couple or the adoptive couple. When we come back, let's talk about specifically what are some of those things that wraparound grandparents can do to help these foster parents, these adoptive parents. You're listening to I Retire For Him, a conversation we want you to get involved in. retirementreformation.org/wraparound, and then download the Legacy of Love pamphlet, the downloadable PDF. Get that done today. And we'll be right back.
Recreating Retirement is an interactive small group study helping you to move from nothing to what's next. You can join us on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast time on Facebook Live. Our goal for this study is to provide a group setting for interaction and new ideas while leading you through a first step in your journey from retirement to reformation. Here's the big idea. During the next 5 years, 5,000 small groups will experience this journey of discovery in churches and faith-based organizations across the country. Is your church a place where recreating retirement needs to be planted? Join us online to experience the study or prepare to lead a small group at your church or ministry. Email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org or go to our website at retirementreformation.org. That's retirementreformation.org.
Hey, welcome back to I Retire For Him. As we do in the middle of every show, we always bring on a guest that's got an incredible story to share. And Bruce, who do you have for us today?
Well, for our listeners, I'd like to introduce you to Robyn Chambers. And Robyn has had an illustrious career. Matter of fact, I think if my numbers are right, it's been 31 years that you've been affiliated with Focus on the Family. And during that period of time, he has led you into some really meaningful relationships. And so, Robyn, you kind of know a little bit about who our audience is. Based upon those 31 years and your relationships with children and with fostering and advocacy for children, what's a message that you'd like to share with our audience that would help them to, perhaps awaken to an opportunities that they have?
Well, Bruce, first, thanks so much for having me on. And you're right. In December, it will be 31 years. And as I don't know if that's good or bad. Either they like what I'm doing or they can't get rid of me. But no, it has been an absolute joy to be a Focus on the Family and really to walk out my call. My husband and I, in our grandparenting years, ended up getting custody of two of our grandkiddos. That's a long story for another time, but we were able to step in and get custody of our 4-year-old and 3-year-old grandkiddos. And that really started a journey of how do I share my story with other grandparents and how they can step in, and not necessarily in a way that my husband and I did, where it was now we're parenting again, but it really opened my eyes to say, there's so much that we can do in our, what I love to call our golden years. And one of the things that I see often is friends of ours that are retiring saying, well, I don't want to retire from everything. I don't want to just walk away from everything. But is there a spot for me? Is there something that I can continue to do? And so working in the foster care system at Focus, that has been an absolute joy to tell a lot of our older constituency that there's still a wonderful place for them. One of the biggest things I think that I could see grandparents doing is stepping into a teenager's life that is possibly aging out of the foster care system. They need help. They need to know, what does it mean to build a budget? What does it mean to interview? What does it mean to, how do I build a resume? All of those things, and I look at you, Bruce, and think your years of experience and just your wealth of information, what a treasure trove that would be for a young man to have someone like that speaking into his life and mentoring his life. I've even taken younger women and said, how can you really be, kind of on your own? How do you step into that? And I look at the older women in our church and say, I'm pretty sure it's scripture, and I think it's in Titus. This is the older women will mentor the younger women in the church. And what a great way of taking, again, that experience that these older women have. And when I say older, that sounds really negative. I mean, wonderful, wisdom-filled women that can speak into a young woman's life and really teach her what it means to how to be a godly wife, if that's her, if that's the direction God's taking her, how to be a godly mom. Maybe those are things that both those young men and young women have never had modeled, and how to be a really godly husband, godly wife, godly parents. And what an opportunity for those in our churches that have that wisdom and have a wonderful gift that they can give to these young people. There absolutely is a spot for all of that wisdom. And I think often we forget that, and often we don't say, hey, you come and be a part of this.
Robyn, I'm going to give you a suggested term. In place of older, Bruce and I have adopted the words chronologically superior.
Oh, like I can get that out. Now, I always say the wisdom-filled people in our churches and what a legacy they have to pass on. And we need to lean into that.
Well, the wonderful opportunity that God has given us, and so many of us it catches us by surprise. But the fact that what we call the retirement years can actually be 30 years. And so the opportunity to, and there were two things that you mentioned that really got my attention. One was mentoring, the ability to come alongside, and Retirement Reformation is going to be introducing a mentoring curriculum for those who say, well, yeah, I'd like to do that, but I don't know exactly what that means. So in partnering with the Prairie Institute and others, so to bring seniors into that mentoring role and add a degree of comfort to them. Second was, and you talked about coming alongside, but we call it wraparound grandparenting, and the ability to be able to not just come alongside, but be able to support those who are fostering. And then you talked about the kids that are aging out, and it's such an issue across the country. And so in your role as Vice President of Advocacy for Children, I'm sure that's an area that is very close to your heart, and based upon your experience with your own grandchildren.
Absolutely. And years ago, Focus on the Family did events called Wait No More. And that was just to really bring awareness of kids in specific communities that were available for adoption. And I remember one of my favorite stories was a gentleman, chronologically superior, who came to me and said, God's not calling me to adopt. We have grandchildren, that are in our lives, but God's calling me to do something, but I don't know what. And Bruce, you said it, is there a way to really have these easy on-ramps for, our wisdom-filled citizens to really step into that? And one of those ways is the wraparound. When you say wraparound grandparenting, that is actually a term, wraparound care, wraparound respite care for families who are fostering. When you step into that, it's hard, and we want to come alongside those families to say, maybe it's your church that says, you know what, we have a team of grandparents that you can adopt for, the next couple of months as you're kind of walking through this journey of bringing a child into your home. Gives mom and dad a break, maybe gives them time to go for ice cream and have an adult conversation. When you're in the midst of this foster care system, sometimes it's overwhelming. There's a lot of court dates that happen. What a great way for grandparents to step in and say, we'll keep the kiddos, you go for ice cream or coffee or whatever you want to do. Give them a break. But then it's also coming alongside them, possibly in a financial way. Maybe it's you pick up groceries once a week. That type of thing. Bring a meal once a week. There's so many different things that we can do to support those families. And I've always said the Big C Church is where they get that long-term support. And what a great way to involve an entire church in something that is near and dear to our Heavenly Father's heart. We're adopted right into His kingdom. Let's give that same love to the families in our churches that are stepping into a really tough space.
Well said. And if you go to retirementreformation.org, you'll see an initiative there called the Legacy of Love, which talks about wraparound grandparenting and provide an opportunity for people to get a quick overview of what does fostering even mean. And then secondly, what is that wraparound grandparenting, and a team of 3 or 4 couples from a church to be able to come alongside those foster parents and do some of the things that you just talked about. It's such a critical need, in a way for the church to be able to bless not only the members of the church, but to bless the community and to show the love of Jesus. When Jesus said, hey, check out the widows and the orphans, pay attention there. That's what it is that we're talking about. So thank you for what it is that you have done and are doing. Is there a specific program that focus is surfacing that people could pay particular attention to?
Yes. And so one of the things that we were able to do during COVID, I know lots of bad things happened, but one of the things that we learned from that was the ability to have an online presence and still have that message, that very relevant message, go out to our constituency. And so we've actually created an online learning program, and the website is super easy. It's waitnomore.org. And the reason we said wait no more, we don't want children waiting. So wait no more for Forever Family. And so that website is brand new, and everything that's on there is so well done. It's written, a lot of the content is written by experts in this space. Our very own Dr. Sharon Ford, who's our Director of Foster Care and Initiative here at Focus, has done a lot of the videos. And so it's a way to really equip people, first and foremost, with what does it mean? As you said, Bruce, what does it mean to be in this foster care space? How can we step in? And so all of that is on there, but it's also a way, little easy ways for families to get involved, for your senior citizens group at your church to get involved, your youth group to get involved. It's just a way to start bringing awareness to kids who are in an unsafe situation, who've been removed because of that. But it's a way for the church to understand what it means to really wrap around those families and support them long term. Of course, our goal is for reunification. We want those kiddos back in their family, in a safe family. But when that doesn't happen, a lot of times those kiddos are considered legal orphans in the United States, and they're available for adoption. So maybe you have a family that's adopting from foster care. They've been foster parents. Now they're going to be adopted parents. And so lots of great ways to get involved. And then one of my favorite things that we are really expanding is our suitcase bundle. And that is a brand new rolling duffel bag with a teddy bear and a Bible for a child in foster care. Often when they're removed, their stuff is thrown into a garbage bag or a little plastic supermarket bag, and they have one change of clothes and maybe one toy. That is not dignity. And so that's our goal, is for that child to see that they are worthy, to feel that they are valuable, and they have something brand new that belongs to just them for their private property. And so that suitcase program is expanding. We are hoping to do 110,000 suitcases over the next 3 years. That's the number of children currently in the United States that are available for adoption. We want every one of those kiddos, littles and bigs, to have one of those bags that belongs to them.
Well, thank you for that. And your work and that of Focus is so appreciated. And I know our audience will avail themselves, connect with retirementreformation.org and the Wait No More. I'll look forward to learning even more details of that so we can partner together with you to spread the word to the 395,000 churches that are in this country. And that as the Big C Church, we could solve this fostering and adoption problem in 6 months if we'd all come together. So let's just pray for that to happen. So, Robyn, thank you for your life of ministry and what you continue to do.
Thank you so much for having me on. And it is wonderful to hear you say, get the word out. That's how we make a change. And you're right. We can eradicate the number of children in foster care through our churches. What a great prayer. Thank you so much.
That website is waitnomore.org and retirementreformation.org/wraparound. We'll be right back with more on I Retire for Him.
Our work on this earth doesn't end when the paycheck stops. God calls us to be faithful for a lifetime. Whether you're looking forward to retirement or you're already there, our all-small group study, Recreating Retirement, will help you understand, engage, and activate what God has for you in this fourth quarter of life. Join Retirement Reformation founder Bruce Bruinsma as you consider your past, strengths, spiritual gifts, and your passions, and how they all come together as the call God has for you in these years. Connect with us on our online community group at facebook.com/Retirement Reformation, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, or if you'd like to bring Recreating Retirement to your church, email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org. Are you ready to start your life-changing journey today?
Hey, welcome back to I Retire For Him. As we complete our series on wraparound grandparenting, I guarantee you this is not the last time we're going to talk about wraparound grandparenting, but it is the beginning of a reformation of the foster care system, the adoption system in this country, as we encourage all of you to get involved. Bruce, let's just brainstorm of some of the things that wraparound grandparents can do to help. I got some ideas, but I want to hear your ideas first. What are some of the things that wraparound grandparents can do to help support a family or a couple that has decided to become foster parents or to adopt a foster kid? Let's talk about some of those things. What are some of the things you think they can?
Yeah, and one of the places that I'll use as a resource in front of me is the ebook, Embracing a Legacy of Love, a call to wraparound grandparenting. And in part 2 of that document, it is entitled The Role of Wraparound Grandparents. And interestingly enough, the very first chapter there talks about the role of emotional support. The role of emotional support. And so support for the children and support for the foster parents, and it could be foster grandparents for that matter, for the role. So the emotional challenges. The second is part of that emotional role is to be a source of both compassion and empathy. Just to be able to say to someone, I know how you feel. Man, oh man, that just opens the doors of relationship and trust.
Are you talking with the parents or with the kid?
Yeah, both.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely both, because both of them need to hear that. The next one is mentorship. Mentorship means coming alongside and being a listener, a supporter, and maybe a sharer of experiences. Judy and I have been foster parents. I had a brother that was adopted. And so we have experiences there that we can come alongside and so on. So along that emotional spectrum again is to provide spiritual guidance. We're each called to do what? To be Christ's role model to the world. Here we have an opportunity to do that and to be able to share a wealth of practical knowledge with both the kids, depending upon their age, and with the foster parents. Now, then to be a role model, a friend, and an advisor. Then, I want to call your attention when you go to retirementreformation.org wraparound, there's about a 2-minute video there, which is really powerful. I mean, it just encapsulates what we're talking about so powerfully. And one of the images in that video is a wraparound grandfather on his knees with 3 kids, and they're digging up potatoes. And there's this picture of this boy holding these 2 potatoes in his hand. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And I think in my mind, that kid may come from the inner city. He had no idea where potatoes come from. And to be able to experience that with his wraparound grandfather. Respite care is another one, just to be able to give both the kids relief, perhaps from the foster parents, but the foster parents relief from the kids. That respite care, that takes all kinds of areas. It may just take the kids and take them to the zoo for the afternoon, or take them to a ball game, or something just to get them out of the house, out of the way, and allow the foster parents to go with their help with daily tasks, food preparation. And, if your household goes from 2 kids to 4 kids overnight, all of a sudden you got some food problems and some preparations, assisting with school. Who makes the kids lunch for school if in fact they got to take their lunch to school? And so it's a whole potpourri of very practical things that can make a difference in support of the foster parents and the legacy of love for the kids.
Yeah, and I was thinking some additional practical things. I mean, each one of us, as we've gotten older, we have skills that we're good at. Maybe for me, it's detailing a car, teaching a kid how to detail a car, helping them detail the cars of their foster parents. It's spending time throwing the ball. I love to throw a ball, football, baseball, any kind of ball. Just throw a ball, kick a ball. Because even if you're in your 70s, you still kick a ball. Maybe you can't run as fast as you used to, but you can try. But the cooking, the cleaning, you go from, maybe you got your own 2 kids, you decide to foster. My son went from 2 kids to 4 kids in a month. And the cleaning, all of a sudden you got 4 kids in diapers, just supplying the diapers, finding the diapers. They went from 2 kids to 4 kids during COVID. They had a hard time finding diapers. Be that kind of resource. There's so many things you could do that you don't even imagine. And really going and asking the foster parents, the adoptive parents, what do you need? How can we help? Give them ideas. A lot of them are afraid to ask for help because it makes it sound like, well, we can't handle this on our own. You don't have to. There's the body of Christ alongside of you. Bruce, why would a pastor of a local church be excited about an initiative like Wraparound Grandparenting?
Well, I think there's 2 reasons. Number one, it expresses in very practical ways the importance of the kids that are in the foster care system that are part of their church. So it shows that the church cares about kids. Secondly, it shows that the church cares about seniors. Unfortunately, as we've talked about so often, the church does not show that. It says you're essentially useless and step aside while we do other things. Here's an opportunity. Don't step aside. Step into and be the church to other ones. So it shows that it can make a difference to the young couples in the church, to the young people in the church, the kids that are in high school, seeing seniors in a whole different light than what they do now. And so often in our churches, we segment everybody by age and we assign a value to them. Here we have an opportunity to integrate that value and to show that it has meaning and purpose. One last thing that it'll do, Jim, and we haven't talked about this, but we know that one of the groups that's leaving churches in great numbers are seniors. And it's because they don't feel used or needed or useful. And so here's an opportunity to be able to retain them. And remember, all that those seniors have are time, money, and experience. Other than that, they don't bring much value. And so to be able to utilize their time.
That was tongue in cheek, by the way, just a little tongue in cheek.
That was very much tongue in cheek.
Okay, just check.
To be able to utilize the time, the experience, and the resources. How critical can it be and how important can it be to the health and the growth of the church? My experience and observation is that when seniors are engaged, the church grows. When seniors are not engaged, the church shrinks. And so to a pastor, if you want to grow your church, make sure you got the gray hairs engaged and it's done intergenerationally. Here's one of the ways to be able to do that.
We invite you to check out our resource online, retirementreformation.org/wraparound. Read about it, download our document, Embracing a Legacy of Love, which is a downloadable PDF. Read it, share it with your friends, send them the link, get your church involved. Tell your pastor, hey, I don't want to start a new program, but I want to start embracing and loving on the kids in our community that need a family. Biblical stuff. Retirementreformation.org/wraparound. Bruce, an incredible 3-part series. I can't wait to follow up on this, 10 podcasts from now where we can see what some local bodies of Christ have done and to follow up with some of our guests that we've had in this series. It is a great one, Bruce, and I love your passion about it. Retirement Reformation /wraparound. You've been listening to I Retire for Him with Bruce Bruinsma, the founder of the Retirement Reformation, and I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg. We're Christ followers, journeying from retirement to reformation so we can ultimately say, I retire for Him.
Retire for Him.
Thanks for listening to I Retire for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation founder, Bruce Bruinsma. I Retire for Him is the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Most Christians tend to follow the world's pattern of rest and self-pampering during retirement. However, in your retirement, you can be focused on God's unique call to love, serve, and help others. This can be your best season of life if you take advantage of a life's worth of knowledge and experience and combine it with a greater freedom of time and money and invest it all in the generations both preceding and following you. The Retirement Reformation is encouraging Christians to find and follow God's call in all seasons and aspects of life, especially in retirement. Take time to sign the manifesto at retirementreformation.org and explore the wealth of resources available on our site. Join this movement of God and journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him. Go to retirementreformation.org.